Can we start, Benno?
Sure.
Excellent. All right, good afternoon. I'll start off with a statement that the Secretary General strongly condemns the appalling killing on Wednesday night of 2 Israeli embassy officials in Washington, D.C. Nothing can justify such horrific acts. The Secretary General reiterates his consistent condemnation of attacks against diplomatic officials. The Secretary General calls on the perpetrator to be brought to justice and extends his sympathies to the families and loved ones of the victims and to the government of Israel. Turning to the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory, the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs confirms to us that yesterday about 90 loaded trucks left the Karim Shalom crossing to multiple destinations inside Gaza. They carry nutrition supplies, flour, medicines, and other critical stocks that were allowed in. Our emergency relief coordinator, Tom Fletcher, commended humanitarians for their courage, noting they continue to face huge challenges in getting goods out of the crossings to where they are needed in Gaza. The shipment from yesterday is limited in quantity and nowhere near sufficient to meet the scale and scope of Gaza's 2.1 million people. OCHA tells us that other supplies such as fresh food, hygiene items, water purification agents, and fuel to power hospitals have not been let in for 80 days. What the UN is currently allowed to bring in includes nutrition products, some food ingredients, and medical supplies. Of yesterday's supplies, over 500 pallets with nutrition supplies were safely offloaded in UNICEF's warehouse in Deir al-Balah. This is nearly 20 truckloads. They include those supplies include ready-to-use therapeutic food, lipid-based nutritional supplements. These life-saving supplies are now being unpacked. They're being repackaged so that smaller loads can reach people in need via dozens of distribution points in Gaza. A handful of bakeries, both in South and Central Gaza, supported by the World Food Program, have resumed bread production. These bakeries are now operational, distributing bread via hot meals kitchens. However, after nearly 80 days of a total blockade of humanitarian assistance, families still face a high risk of famine, and far more aid is urgently needed into the Gaza Strip. The shipment of flour we received recently, which is about 50 truckloads, have helped those bakeries in Deir al-Balah resume operations. As a reminder, the latest analysis from the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification System concluded that people across Gaza are at risk of famine, with nearly 500,000 people teetering on the edge of starvation. OCHA underscores it is critical for the Israeli authorities to facilitate the movement of humanitarian convoys, including from southern Gaza into the north, so that supplies can reach people in need wherever they are across the Gaza Strip. Also, just a note on access to and from Karim Shalom, reaching the crossing on the Palestinian side requires humanitarians to travel through an Israeli militarized area. This means that our team often need to wait for many hours for military activities to pause for their own safety and for a green light to be given by the Israeli authorities to proceed. We also need to ensure the use of secure routes from Karim Shalom towards Gaza, as we did last night, and we hope to do that again today. We will keep you posted as developments happen during the afternoon here. Meanwhile, military operations continue across the Gaza Strip with reports of strikes, shelling, and fresh ground incursions. In recent days, our colleagues on the ground report that attacks have struck tents, they've struck buildings where people are sheltering, which has caused scores of casualties. Today, Al-Auda Hospital in North Gaza caught fire, reportedly after being attacked. Through coordination with Israeli authorities, OCHA facilitated the access of the Palestinian Civil Defense to the area, where they spend hours working to extinguish the fire. According to initial reports, the medicine warehouse was heavily damaged. Meanwhile, water wells in some areas of Gaza are shutting down as no new fuel is able to get to them. As we just mentioned, it's been 80 days since fuel has been allowed into the Gaza Strip. OCHA reports that Israeli authorities continue to deny our attempts to deliver fuel from areas where coordination is required. Moving north, our peacekeepers in southern Lebanon tell us that they continue to observe Israel Defense Forces military activities in their areas of operations, including 4 projectiles and 2 airstrikes yesterday. Last week, Blue Helmets discovered a large amount of caches at 2 locations in Sector East, including rocket launchers, 3 underground tunnels, as well as rockets, anti-tank missiles, and explosive devices. Since the cessation of hostilities came into effect, UNIFIL has found 251 weapons and ammunition caches, and those were all reported to the Lebanese Armed Forces as we are mandated to do so. And some, as you'll recall earlier this week, were destroyed in situ. In the context of the continued IDF presence in military activities in the area of operation, UNIFIL peacekeepers have assisted dozens of farmers, including about 20 today in the village of Marwahin in Sector West. We help them to access their land and agricultural assets along the Blue Line. This humanitarian effort was made possible by UNIFIL's coordination with the Lebanese Army and the Israeli Army. As part of UNIFIL's support to local communities, peacekeepers yesterday donated medical supplies, including personal protective equipment and essential medicines to Marjayoun Public Hospital. UNIFIL has also facilitated over 90 humanitarian missions to its area of operation since November. And just a reminder that, of course, these missions are critical to saving lives. I had been asked about the agreement signed between the United Kingdom and Mauritius regarding the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands, and I can tell you that the Secretary General welcomes the signing of the agreement between the government of the United Kingdom and the government of the Republic of Mauritius concerning the Chagos archipelago, including Diego Garcia. This agreement marks a significant step towards resolving a long-standing dispute in the Indian Ocean region, and it also demonstrates the value of diplomacy in addressing historical grievances. The Secretary General urges both parties to continue engaging in constructive discussions to ensure that the rights and aspirations of the Chagosian people are fully respected and that they're fully upheld. The United Nations remains committed to supporting both countries in this process. I want to flag an update on the horrific humanitarian situation that continues to unfold in Sudan, which remains of grave concern to us. Our humanitarian colleagues are warning of the worsening humanitarian situation there. The surge in fighting in various areas across Sudan is pushing civilians out of their homes and into shelters. West Kordofan State, the International Organization for Migration, says that the heightened insecurity forced nearly 47,000 men, women, and children out of the towns of Kiwe and Nuhud this month. Many of these people were already internally displaced and are now forced to be on the move for a second time. In North Darfur State, IOM says that some 1,000 people have been displaced from Abu Shuk camp and El Fasher town just in the past week due to ongoing insecurity. Most of these people have sought safety in other parts of El Fasher locality, while others fled to Tawila. And you'll recall in Tawila, we and our partners have scaled up assistance in recent weeks, bringing the total number of people displaced from Abu Shuk to El Fasher this month to 6,000. In total, North Darfur State is estimated to be hosting more than 1.7 million displaced human beings. Soaring food prices are deepening the crisis, and we're alarmed by a surge in cholera cases and in some localities in Khartoum State. The situation in Khartoum itself is compounded by a near-total electricity blackout in the past week, reportedly caused by a drone attack on critical power infrastructure. This has severely disrupted access to water and to health care, including in hospitals where it is very much needed. Residents are resorting to unsafe water sources, which is, of course, increasing the risk of waterborne diseases. In White Nile State, needs are increasing as more people arrive from neighborhoods neighboring South Sudan, fleeing insecurity and worsening conditions there. Over the past 6 weeks, more than 25,000 South Sudanese refugees mostly women and children, have crossed into White Nile searching for safety. That's what UNHCR is telling us based on information received from the government in there. Even though humanitarians are doing everything possible to assist people in need, we reiterate the urgent need for more access and flexible funding. To date, just $552 million in funding has been received for the humanitarian response plan this year. That's just 13% of the $4.2 billion United States dollars that are needed. And I want to flag a new allocation from the UN Central Emergency Fund in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. $750,000 from SURF's Anticipatory Action Program was made available yesterday to support the response and surge in cholera in some provinces and parts of the country. The funds will enable the World Health Organization and UNICEF with their partners to provide critical health, water, sanitation, and hygiene assistance, as well as the timely detection and response to cholera alerts and to carry out medical treatment, risk communication, and community engagement. The Emergency Relief Coordinator, Tom Fletcher, said that with cholera already spreading and affecting thousands of people in the DRC, this swift allocation will help reinforce infection control and support the impacted people. Also yesterday, 9.5 million United States dollars were released by SURF to support climate action initiatives in 8 countries. Those countries are Afghanistan, Central African Republic, Chad, Mauritania, Niger, Somalia, Venezuela, and Zambia. These resources will boost initiatives for immediate critical response. Many of these initiatives are community-driven, involving women-led and youth organization among local partners. And $10 million has been released to rush life-saving aid to more than 270,000 people in South Sudan. The allocation will target vulnerable communities in Jonglei and Upper Nile State that have been impacting by the overlapping crises, especially conflict and displacement, as well as food insecurity and our cholera outbreak. The funds will also help people ahead of the rainy season, and our humanitarian partners will provide food, seeds, tools, fishing kits, shelter, and water, sanitation, hygiene, supplies. This morning, Tom Fletcher, our Emergency Relief Coordinator and Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, briefed the Security Council in an open meeting on the protection of civilians in armed conflict. Tom Fletcher, the Emergency Relief Coordinator, said we recorded more than 36,000 civilian deaths in 14 armed conflicts this year, with their real numbers being far higher. He told Council members that despite the lessons of history and clear legal commitments, we are witnessing an unraveling of the protection of civilians and respect for international humanitarian law. There is another path, though, Mr. Fletcher said, providing this Council and member states take action and salvage what they have built. First, he called on for compliance with international humanitarian law. Second, he reminded them of the necessity of fighting impunity. And finally, he said we must acknowledge that not all civilian harm stems from violations of the law. This is why the Security Council has called for a more comprehensive and people-centered approach to protection of civilians. Sima Bahous, the executive director of UN Women, also briefed, highlighting the impact of protection of civilians and conflict on women. Their remarks were shared with you. Senior personnel appointment today, Secretary General appointed Yasmin Fouad of Egypt as the next executive secretary of the UN Convention to Combat Desertification. This appointment was made in following consultations with the Bureau of the Conference of the Parties of the UNCCD. Yasmin Fouad will succeed Ibrahim Thiaw of Mauritania, to whom the Secretary General is deeply grateful for his dedicated service and outstanding commitment to the organization. She served as Minister of Environment of Egypt since 2018, and she's an expert in environmental diplomacy with over 25 years of experience in environmental governance, global environmental themes, and international climate diplomacy. Today is the International Day of Biological Diversity. In his message, the Secretary General says this year's theme reminds us that living in harmony with nature and sustainable development is humanity's path to a better world for us all. Money in the bank today. There we go. That got your attention. This country is the second largest coffee producer in the world after Brazil, It is also the third largest producer of cashew nuts after Côte d'Ivoire and India. No answers will be taken into account till I finish the question. Cashew nuts after Côte d'Ivoire and India. Nope. 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 All right, we're not going to read through 188. Yes. Très bien joué. Very good. AFP gets a bowl of cashews and a nice cup of coffee. We very much thank our friends in Hanoi for their full payment to the regular budget. We are now up to 107. We need more. With more money. Amélie. Yeah, Amélie, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Steph. About the aid into Gaza, so you mentioned the aid that was able to leave Kerem Shalom, but were there any aid getting in into Gaza from Israel today? Any new trucks?
Yeah, so there are more of the kind of same supplies, nutrition, health, and flour. We have sent empty trucks from Gaza into the Kerem Shalom loading area. As soon as I have an update on today's transfer activities, I will let you know. Deji, then Gabriel.
Thank you. First, a follow-up on that. A couple of days ago, I asked you about the de-escalation mechanism. Now, is there a de-escalation mechanism for trucks inside Gaza?
Well, I mean, let me just say, we as I mentioned, and as we've been mentioning regularly, we need to get clearances, and we coordinate with the Israeli security forces our movements of trucks.
Okay,
to ensure their safety.
So the decision from the Israeli authorities still on a daily basis. There's no continuous decision like every day how many trucks. It's basically
it remains a drip.
Okay, drip. Okay, so my question actually, it's been reported that the Iranian foreign minister sent Secretary General a letter about a possible or potential attack from Israel against the Iranian nuclear facility. Can you confirm that the Secretary General has received that letter, and what is the response from the Secretary General?
I haven't. I will check whether the letter. Yes, in fact, the letter. Excuse me. The letter has been was received this morning. It will be as requested. It will be shared with the General Assembly and with the Security Council. Obviously, the heightened rhetoric regarding potential military activities, increased military activities, should be a concern to all. Gabriel.
Thank you, Steph. Has Israel indicated they'd open up any sort of second crossing, as Tom Fletcher has asked for?
No.
And just to be clear, they are not allowing any fresh food into Gaza. Is that correct?
No fresh food is coming in through the UN mechanism. I think what is clearly important, and we've talked about that before, is the need for the commercial sector to resume as well, to just put more goods into markets. You know, and I think this is laid out in the IPC and other humanitarian updates. The issue is not just the lack of food; it is also the lack of diversity of food.
And can I just pivot real quick to Haiti for a second? You've spoken a lot about Haiti over the last week or two. It's clearly a humanitarian crisis that's getting worse, and a security crisis. My question is, can you just give us an update on where the humanitarian appeal is at this point?
Sure. What I can tell you, our humanitarian response plan for this year calls for about $908 million to support about $3.9 million. So far, it's only received 7.7% of the funding needed, which is about $76 million.
And just, do you have any granularity on where it stands with the U.S. at all, or any big picture on how this funding is?
I mean, the U.S. in 2024 was a huge donor to the humanitarian appeal. We're very grateful to them. About 65% of the funds received last year was from the U.S. Evelyn, then Abdelhamid.
Thank you, Stefan. South Sudan, the United States has deposited 8 people there, Vietnamese and Burmese, despite judges telling them not to. Do you have a reaction to this?
Yeah.
And do you expect our people to meet up with them or them to come to us?
I mean, I think I was asked this question yesterday or the day before, but I can tell you that for us, first of all, we're not at all, no UN agency is involved or have been consulted as far as I know. At least I know UN in this process. Any transfer arrangements should ensure access to asylum, due process, respect for the principle of non-refoulement, meaning that people in need of international protection must not be returned to a place where they face risk of harm, and that, you know, whether they're migrants or refugees, people have rights that need to be respected. Abdelhamid.
Thank you, Stefan. Following up on the aid to Gaza, can you confirm any food item entered Gaza that address the needs of the children?
I mean, there was flour that came in, which enabled the WFP bakeries to start up again, and there are nutrition supplements for those who are malnourished or severe or facing acute hunger.
My second question, there was a statement by the SG condemning the attack in Washington, rightfully so, and another statement by Mauritianus, also he's in charge of this alliance of civilization and hatred speech and Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. But why Virginia Gamba as the special advisor on genocide, who did not say one word since the last 3 months after Israel resumed the attack, did not say one word about what happened in Gaza? Why she issued a statement?
People are speaking out in accordance with their mandate.
Does that include, her mandate include that?
That's my answer to you. Sinan, and then we'll go back to round 2. Just because you won doesn't mean you get to ask as many questions as you want. Yeah.
Thank you, Steph. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned on Tuesday that Syria may only be weeks away from another civil war. The question is, does Secretary General agree this? I mean, does he think like the situation in Syria, like that fragile can be?
Look, I think, you know, you just need to focus on what Mr. Pedersen said yesterday or 2 days ago? Yesterday in the Security Council, and that will lay out the Secretary General's view on Syria and will let you do the compare and contrast with the Secretary of State.